Today we have Sharon Bryant with us, and she works at NIFGIS, which is actually partially in my building as well at CFNR. So happy to have you here. We have something very important to talk about. Before we get to that though, I would love you to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about where you grew up and what nation you're from.
Oh, wow. Toig sa noon, Char. Lita Lakdao Gabao Diwayu is my traditional name. Ada Sharon Bryant Diwayu is my English name. Lucky Boo Di Padego, Lucky Boo, the wolf, is my crest. Lakwalams, Diwal Watku. Lakwalams is where I was born and raised, is my dad's community. And Kitsam Kalam Diwal Tsagu. Kitsam Kalam is where I live. And Kitsam Kalam Ada Kitsalasu are the roots of my mother. My mother was born in Port Essington. And Chimshan knew you. Chimshan.
So nice to have you on. And like I said, we have a lot of big stuff to talk about. We are 8 days removed from BC going into phase 3, which is kind of crazy after over a year of being in this pandemic. But I wanted to have you here to talk about getting vaccinated, because I know that that's something that you felt passionately that you wanted to tell other people about. So first of all, I guess I want to start off by asking, were you originally hesitant to get the vaccine?
I was following a lot of groups and a lot of news and listening to the news, and then I just gave up because it was like kind of going back and forth of how this is not good for you in the long term, the side effects, and I didn't take note of any side effects or anything. I just listening. So I never did my own research. I was listening all last fall about how this vaccine is coming out, and we lost our older brother in November, and then just that weekend of our paying our last respects. And as First Nations people, our community and our families come together to pay respects. However, the hammer came down like that Friday. We were supposed to have community and family come together, and that was like chopped to 10 people in the building. And that was the hardest, most difficult night of our lives, having to go in family groups of our own immediate family, meaning my husband and myself and our kids, and just to go in, walk by our sister-in-law and our nieces and nephews, and to not hug them, and to go pay our respects to our brother and say goodbye for the last time, and and not share anything with the family at like we normally do in our grieving process. So that was the hardest. That really hit home. And so listening to I have friends in the Taltan that I have a lot of respect for. Betty Louis, who's used to be the health director up there, and Marie Kwok, who's the chief counselor. I have a lot of respect for them. They do a lot of their research, and they're very knowledgeable in the health department. And our own health department was sharing, a lot of information. So we got to read a lot of information by newsletter. And so by January, when the Taltans got their needles, and they shared in written form how, like Marie, what stuck out for me in her post was the side effects the long-term side effects of having COVID without the vaccine outweigh more than if you have the vaccine and you do get COVID. So that's what's stuck in my brain about, okay, this means freedom, and this means that I'm going to get to see my grandchildren again and have my family come together. I am all for that vaccine.
And did you end up having even any mild side effects?
Yes, I had the first vaccine. I had it kicked in about 6 hours later, and I just wanted to sleep. And my arm was like dead weight, and so for me it just knocked me out. And I as soon as I hit the pillow, I was gone. So I had a really good nap that evening, and early time to bed. So
nothing too crazy. I know for myself, I've had my second vaccine. I'm just over 2 weeks post, and I had mild symptoms, so I was very fortunate. And I didn't really hear from too many people that had anything much more than what we had.
Yeah. And the same thing with the second one. It's exactly the same thing. I had a very, very heavy arm, and but it didn't hit me till the next day. Like, I had it towards the 2:00 in the afternoon, went back to work, came home, had an evening, and by the next morning I thought, oh, okay, it's got the regular routine, go to work, had coffee, but by noon I was like, okay, I'm ready to sleep. So noon the next day I checked out of work and came home, and I slept the whole afternoon. My arm was like so heavy, like it just felt like lead to lift.
And I've heard from other medical professionals that means that your body is building the immunity against the COVID virus. So that's doing its job.
Right. Yes, for sure.
And so you were talking about seeing your grandchildren and your family members. What else are you looking forward to now that you're doubly vaccinated?
A full family gathering. We just celebrated, our youngest daughter graduated this year, and on June 21st, Indigenous Day, we had the celebration at the hall, so we were able to use the hall, but still only have 50 max, right, within the hall. So yeah, and so on the 26th, we celebrated her here as a family dinner, and because it was inside, it was super hot outside, so nobody was going to go outside and eat on the 26th. That was like super hot day, so everybody was inside, and still for an inside gathering it was 50 people max, and our house, both inside and outside, have hosted 100 people. So having people inside, we probably had about 30, because the restrictions were still in place, and Kitsim-Kalem was still closed community to social gathering, and so we had to follow the restrictions as well to this day.
So we are one phase away from almost being back to normal, I guess that we could say. What would you tell others who might be a little bit on the fence about getting their shots?
Don't be afraid. I mean, there are the rare occasion where you would get the flu-like symptoms, such as nausea and a sore arm. And for me, it was really tired. For my husband, he was energetic. Like, it didn't really phase on him. He was like, had more energy, after he got his vaccine, his first vaccine. And then the second one, you wouldn't think he had a vaccine, because for me, everyone has different effects to it, and depending on your health. And I know for Marie, she shared that with her immune system, and the vaccine would give her a better chance should she contact COVID. So, and she did the research, and so I really hung on to her sharing of her thoughts. And so I take that, and I've told her, thank you so much. I'm going to share that with my family, and and share it with whoever is on the fence, because the side effects of having the vaccine are way less than if you contracted COVID and then you weren't vaccinated. Well, the long-term side effects will be there, and that's something I would not want to experience. And so to be protected, if you have a compromised immune system, or you're elderly and your immune system is not very strong, then definitely the vaccine, the side effects that could probably last a day outweighs the side effects should you contract COVID-19 in the long term.
Yeah, and I know that your words of encouragement, I hope it helps at least one person to go and make that move, because the more of us that get this vaccine, the quicker we get to go back to normal, like we said, although I don't think they'll ever be the same. I love working from home. I will say that right now.
Yes.
And I actually have one last question. It's kind of like, it's a profound question, but I feel like this is a profound moment. How have those vaccines changed your life? Because they had to have.
I felt more confident going out into the public, especially where you have the choice of not wearing a mask. And, because you see some people you can recognize by just looking at their eyes, but a lot of people you don't. And so I'm sure they feel the same way. Because I've met up with one person, and they asked, and we were 6 feet apart, and he was like, "Can you remove your mask? I remember her face, but I can only see your eyes." So, and I was comfortable removing my mask, knowing I was. And he also stated, he's a medical professional, and he stated that he's been vaccinated past his 2 weeks, and he confirmed, and asked me. And so I removed my mask, and just having that comfort without any worry or fear, of contracting COVID-19, being double vaccinated was really comforting for me.
Aw, awesome. Well, I'm so thankful that we got to do this interview. And like I said, I really hope at least one person takes your advice and goes and gets their vaccinations, because it's so important to protect all of our elders and everybody that might be vulnerable to these kinds of viruses.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank my Tel10 friends, Marie Kwok and Betty Louie, for sharing and doing their write-up on Facebook, encouraging everyone that how important that COVID vaccine is for them.
Yeah, and it's nothing to be scared of.
No, definitely nothing to be scared of. I was more afraid after that of what would happen should I get sick, and then I couldn't wait for the vaccine to come out. So now being double vaccinated, I feel comfortable going out into the public and in a public place and not having to worry.
And there's a lot less sweaty lip going around.
Definitely. Especially in this heat.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It has been sweltering.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Sharon, for doing this. Is there anything else you wanted to leave us with before we end?
No, just, yeah. And if you have any questions, there's so much information out there. Your health, your local Northern Health, your local health clinic. There's so much information out there that, contact one of them and ask those questions. And there are people that you trust who have had it. Ask them what their experience is. Don't be afraid, and definitely don't be afraid of the vaccine because it is there to protect you.